So you're dreaming of building a house in Goa. Fantastic. But before you jump into designing the perfect balcony, there's a rulebook you really need to know. Welcome to The Explainer, where today we're going to break down the essential construction rules that'll help you build that dream the right way. Look, let's be honest, opening up the official regulations can feel a little overwhelming. But these rules aren't there just to trip you up. They're actually a shared blueprint to make sure all new development in Goa is safe, sustainable, and beautiful. So we're going to cut through the jargon and make it simple. All right, here's how we're going to tackle this. First up, we'll check if the ground you want to build on is even safe. Then we'll figure out the rules for actually getting to your property. After that, we dive into something called setbacks. Think of it as personal space for your house. And finally, the fun part, the rules for the building itself. Okay, let's get into it. And I mean, this is the absolute first thing you have to consider, way before you even think about laying a single brick. The Goan regulations are super clear on this. You have to check for a few key environmental risks before you can even get started. And trust me, this isn't just a bunch of red tape. It's about making sure your investment is safe for the long haul. So, the Goa State Disaster Management Authority has basically got a watch list of 3 major risks. Your first job is to find out if your plot of land falls into a zone that's considered vulnerable to any of these. Liquefaction. Sounds technical, right? But it's actually pretty simple and pretty scary. It's when the ground, usually sandy or silty soil, basically turns into something like quicksand during an earthquake. You can imagine what that would do to a building's foundation. It's a huge deal in certain coastal areas. So here's the bottom line. You need to get your hands on the official hazard zone maps. If your land is in a risky area, the rule is you either have to build a specific distance away from the hazard line, or you have to use special government-approved protective measures in your construction. Whatever you do, don't guess on this one. Okay, so you've confirmed the ground is safe. Awesome. Now, how do we actually get to your front door? Let's talk about the rules for access. 3 meters. Remember that number? It's a big one. The law says that every single building has to have an access path or a road that has a clear width of at least 3 meters. And you know, there's a really simple, life-saving reason for that specific number. It's not random. It's the absolute minimum width required for an ambulance or a fire engine to reach your home if there's an emergency. It's all about safety. And it doesn't stop there. The path has to be properly paved, have good drainage, and be lit. You can't have any steps or weird platforms blocking it. Plus, if your property's on a corner, you have to maintain a clear line of sight. That means no walls or hedges that could create a dangerous blind spot for drivers. It's just smart. All right, we've secured the land and the access. Now let's move from the edge of your property inwards and talk about one of the most important concepts in Goan building rules: setbacks. This is all about your property's mandatory breathing room. Think of it like a personal bubble for your house. It's that required open space all around your building, between the walls and your property line. And this space has to be kept totally open to the sky permanently. It's crucial for light, air, and just giving everyone some space. And here's the simple logic behind it, the golden rule of setbacks. The taller your building gets, the more open space you need to leave around it. It just makes sense, right? Bigger buildings need more room to breathe to avoid creating a crowded, canyon-like effect. And you can see that direct relationship right here in the official rules. For, pretty standard 2-story house under 7.6 meters, you need a 3-meter setback on the sides and rear. But if you're building something much taller, say up to 24 meters, that required space more than doubles to 6.5 meters. So what can you actually do with this space? Well, you can't use it as a storage yard, you can't build permanent stages, and definitely no advertising billboards. But what you are encouraged to do is use it for beautiful things, like gardens, or for smart things, like wells, septic tanks, and rainwater harvesting systems. All right, finally, we've sorted out the land, the access, and the open space around the building. Now we can talk about the rules for the actual structure you're going to build inside those lines. Okay, this is a big one, and it's super specific to Goa's aesthetic. The roof. In residential areas, you can't just build a big, flat-topped box. The rules say that at least half, 50% of your roof must be sloped. It's a key part of maintaining the architectural character of the region. Of course, you're going to want things like balconies and sunshades, or chajas as they're often called. They're designed to stick out from the building. So can they go into that setback space we just talked about? The good news is, yes, they can. But there are some very specific rules. Okay,
So here are the 3 main rules you gotta follow. 1. Your balcony or shade has to be at least 2.5 meters off the ground. 2. It can't stick out more than 1.5 meters into the setback. And 3. Its width can't take up more than a third of the total setback width. It's all about balance.
So, what if you've got a bigger plot of land and you want to build 2 separate buildings? Maybe a main house and a guest cottage. Yep, you guessed it. There's a rule for that too. You've got to leave at least 3 meters of clear space between them. And this is all about preventing you from creating dark, gloomy little alleyways on your own property. It ensures both buildings get enough light and air to feel open and livable.
All right, let's do a quick recap. The absolute essentials. You ready? First, always verify your land is safe from hazards. Second, make sure you have that 3-meter clear path for access. Third, keep those corners clear for visibility. Fourth, remember the golden rule. Taller buildings need wider setbacks. And fifth, use that setback space for green things, not junk.
You know, when you look at them all together, you see these rules aren't just a list of don'ts. They're the blueprint for building a Goa that's safer, greener, and more livable for everyone. Thanks for joining us on The Explainer. Now, what are you going to build?